One email nearly cost him a $380 billion company. In February 2026, the President of the United States ordered the entire U.S. military to cut ties with one company, effective immediately. Days earlier, that same company's AI had reportedly helped track down a wanted foreign dictator. Its technology was already running inside classified Pentagon networks. The CEO could have saved the deal with a single phone call. He refused. This is the story of the man behind one of the most powerful artificial intelligences on Earth, and almost nobody outside the industry knows his name. His name is Dario Amodei. He runs Anthropic, the company behind Claude. You know Sam Altman. You know Elon Musk. Amodei has built something arguably just as powerful and stayed almost invisible doing it. He once turned down the chance to run OpenAI itself. His own company is now worth more than that rival. In the same breath, he'll tell you, I could cure most cancers within a decade and wipe out half of America's entry-level jobs. His own investors have reportedly said he cannot control his emotions. The government he supplied with classified AI tools tried to cut him off entirely. So how does a man with this much power stay this unknown? By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why. Dario Amodei was born in 1983 in San Francisco's Mission District, not Silicon Valley money. His father was a leather craftsman. His mother managed construction and renovation projects. He went to public school. He wasn't chasing computers as a kid. He was chasing physics. He studied at Caltech, then finished his degree at Stanford. From there, Princeton for a PhD, not in computer science, but in biophysics, studying how networks of neurons in the brain actually behave. The man who would go on to build one of history's most advanced language models spent his 20s studying how biological brains process information, not artificial ones. After Princeton, he became a postdoctoral researcher at Stanford Medicine. Then something shifted. In 2014, he joined Baidu's AI division, then Google Brain as a senior research scientist. And in 2016, he joined a small, strange nonprofit lab almost nobody outside tech had heard of yet. It was called OpenAI. There, Amodei rose fast. Team lead for AI safety. In 2016, research director by 2018, vice president of research by 2019. He helped lead the development of GPT-2 and GPT-3, the models that would eventually become the foundation of ChatGPT. He also co-invented reinforcement learning from human feedback, RLHF, a method for teaching AI systems what humans actually want, now used across almost the entire industry. Vice president at the world's most talked about AI lab. By every normal measure, he'd made it. But something inside the company was starting to worry him, and within 4.5 years, he'd walk away from all of it. At the end of 2020, Dario Amodei left OpenAI. He didn't leave alone. He took his younger sister, Daniela, then an engineering manager at the company, and roughly 6 other senior researchers with him. The official reason was vague, directional differences. Unofficially, multiple reports point to one core disagreement. Amodei believed OpenAI was racing to scale its models faster than it could guarantee they were safe. In early 2021, the group incorporated a new company in Delaware, not a normal corporation, but a public benefit corporation, legally required to weigh the public good alongside profit. They called it Anthropic, from the Greek word for human. At a moment when AI labs were racing to build something beyond human, Amodei named his company after the thing he said should stay at the center of it. Anthropic launched with $124 million in Series A funding. Tiny, by today's standards, the company would later raise $30 billion in a single round. Then, in November 2023, OpenAI's own board imploded during the weekend. It briefly fired Sam Altman. In the chaos, the board reportedly approached Amodei with an extraordinary offer. Come back, take over as chief executive officer, and discuss merging the two companies. He said no. twice. The man who once worked under Altman had just been offered his rival's entire company and turned it down flat to keep running his own. 3 years later, Anthropic would be worth more than OpenAI. But Amodei wasn't trying to build just another chatbot. He was trying to prove a point. 1 week after ChatGPT stole every headline on the planet, in December 2022, Anthropic quietly published a paper almost nobody noticed at the time: Constitutional AI. Instead of relying only on humans to manually rate millions of AI responses as good or bad, you give the model a written set of principles, a constitution, and train it to critique and revise its own answers against it. Co-founder Chris Olah paired this with a field he pioneered called mechanistic interpretability, an attempt to look inside a model's internals the way a scientist scans a living brain. Claude launched publicly in March 2023. Anthropic also introduced something no major lab had tried before: a voluntary, responsible scaling policy, a self-imposed rulebook for how powerful a model could get before triggering extra safety checks. It worked, commercially, far beyond anyone's prediction. By early 2026, revenue had exploded roughly 80-fold in a single quarter, according to Amodei himself. 8 of the Fortune 10 became customers. The valuation climbed from $61.5 billion in September 2025 to $183 billion that February, to $380 billion weeks later, then very nearly tripled again by spring. The safety-first underdog had become one of the most valuable private companies on Earth. This is where Dario Amodei starts to sound like two different people. In October 2024, he published a 14,000-word essay called Machines of Loving Grace. In it, he argued that if powerful AI is developed carefully, humanity could compress a century of biological and medical progress into 5 to 10 years, pushing back most infectious disease, dramatically cutting cancer deaths, and meaningfully extending the human lifespan. He described a future research lab as a kind of country of geniuses inside a data center. Then the warning started. In May 2025, he told Axios something that stunned even his own industry. AI could eliminate roughly half of all entry-level white-collar jobs within 5 years. Unemployment, he said, could spike to somewhere between 10 and 20%. Companies and governments, he said, were sugarcoating what was coming. He didn't stop there. He later predicted AI could be writing 90% of all code within 3 to 6 months, and essentially all of it within a year. The data since has been messy, but not baseless. Big Tech's hiring of new graduates has fallen close to 50% from pre-pandemic levels. Roughly 55,000 U.S. layoffs in 2025 were attributed directly to AI. By 2026, Amodei himself began softening the message, pointing instead to the Jevons paradox. The idea that when a task gets radically more efficient, demand for it can expand rather than shrink. So which is it? A golden age of cured disease, or a wave of unemployment nobody's ready for? Depending on which month you ask him, you might get a very different answer. And this is the strangest part of his story. Almost nobody can pick this man out of a crowd. Sam Altman does podcasts, interviews, and public feuds constantly. Elon Musk posts dozens of times a day. Amodei does neither. He gives long, careful, 3-hour conversations on niche podcasts instead of viral sound bites, protecting, in his own words, his ability to think about problems independently, without being shaped by what other people want to hear. People who've worked alongside him describe two very different pictures. Some call him one of the most technically brilliant researchers in the field, a physicist who genuinely worries about catastrophic risk, not just competition. Others, including some of his own investors, have grown uneasy watching him fire off blunt, emotional public statements against rivals and government officials. Statements one anonymous shareholder told the press don't belong coming from the CEO of a company worth hundreds of billions of dollars, the least recognizable of the major AI CEOs, possibly the most consequential. And in early 2026, that collided head-on with the most powerful government on Earth. By early 2026, Claude had become the first frontier AI model deployed on classified Pentagon networks. Anthropic held a $200 million defense contract. Its technology, per the Wall Street Journal, was used in the U.S. operation to capture Venezuela's president. Then it fell apart. The Pentagon wanted Anthropic to drop restrictions around autonomous weapons and domestic surveillance. Amodei refused. Defense officials began threatening to label Anthropic a supply chain risk, a designation that could scare off private customers just as the company prepared to go public. President Trump then ordered the entire U.S. government to stop working with Anthropic outright. Defense contractors, including Palantir, scrambled to rip Claude out of critical military software within days. An internal memo from Amodei then leaked to the press. In it, he accused the administration of punishing his company for refusing to offer, in his words, dictator-style praise, and accused a rival CEO of lying about sharing his safety concerns. A man almost nobody recognizes on the street had just picked a public fight with the President of the United States and risked one of the largest companies in history to do it. Whatever you think of Dario Amodei, he is one of the only people in his position who tells the public uncomfortable things about the technology he is selling, and when the most powerful government on earth pushed back, he did not fold. Maybe that makes him the industry's conscience. Maybe he is just another founder convinced he knows best. The people closest to him cannot agree, and neither can the rest of us. Millions of people talk to something he built every single day. Almost none of them could tell you his name. That gap might be the strangest part of this entire story. If you want to understand the AI shaping your future, maybe start with the people building it. We'll keep digging. See you in the next one.